I am going to introduce you all to our moderator and our speakers for today. So first up, I'm going to bring Amy Sneider on the screen. Amy is the editor-in-chief of Aspire Design and Home, and Aspire is our partner in producing Stone Journal. We couldn't do Stone Journal without them, so we're very grateful for Amy to be here with us today. Next up, we have Amy Connor Murphy joining us. Amy is the owner and principal architect of ACM Design and was the architect and designer on the project that we are discussing today. And then lastly, we have Kevin Reed joining us. He is the president and owner of Bluestone Construction, who was the builder on the project we're featuring today. So with that, I'm going to let you guys take it from here. I'll pop back on the screen at the end to help with the Q&A, but if you guys want to take a second and share a little bit more about yourselves, we're off to the races.
Well, welcome everyone, and thanks Kristen and Beaklestone for hosting this webinar. I'm really excited. So today we're going to feature, and I was just asking Amy, we're going to hear a little bit more about, but we're featuring the Lumière project in North Carolina. And the project used the Fond du Lac Taylor blend with Indiana Silver Buff custom cut limestone. It's a mouthful. So I want to, you guys do your thing. Amy, if you want to just talk a little bit about how long you've been doing this, and then we'll get to Kevin. And
sure. Well, I've been doing this for a little while. I've started my firm in Asheville in the early 2000s, focusing on residential work, and have been really lucky to work with some incredible clients over the years and some incredible builders like Kevin. And, you know, we as architects and designers, we can draw anything, but if we're not partnered with the right client who challenges us and also trusts us to do something beautiful, and also with builders whose attention to detail and the quality that they bring in the craft of construction, you know, they're just drawing. So it really takes a team, and I've been very fortunate to work with great clients and great builders. So that's a little about me.
Excellent. Kevin?
Sure, thanks. Yep, my name's Kevin Reed. My company is Bluestone Construction. Like Amy, I've been building since just before 2000. All of our homes are architect design homes. That's all we work on. Same sentiment as Amy, just kind of the reverse. We're fortunate to have great clients, especially on this home. They're just fantastic, and a great bunch of architects that we work with. We build Asheville, North Carolina, Hendersonville, Greenville. We recently started a project in Highlands, which is a little bit of a distant stretch for us, but that's about our territory. So.
Oh, excellent. So I wanted to just start off briefly with encapsulating Beakel's philosophy. And there's a quote in the book that they use, and in its raw form, stone holds possibility. In the hands of a craftsman, it becomes timeless. So we're going to take this opportunity today to, you guys have actualized this sentiment. So we're going to dig in and chat about the backstory. I did get to speak to, sorry, Kev, Amy has a little bit of a legs up. I spoke to her yesterday and we caught up a bit. And so I'm thinking maybe, Amy, if you can talk a little about how I think starting off with how to share how the homeowners experience living in New York, and how that influenced the mix of traditional and modern elements.
Sure. Well, I originally met them in Asheville, and they wanted to build a house but weren't sure about the timing, and had me look at a house that was already under construction. And I said, look, I said, you've got a lot of changes you want to make here. And it's probably not going to be perfect. Why don't we see how close your budget will be for this renovation? And then that way you can take that information and decide which way to go. And much to my delight, they chose to design a new house. And so I had known them for a while. Actually, we were talking for several months before we actually met the first time, and then went through that process and began the process of this. And I happened to be in New York City where they lived, and for an architect's convention, and met with them in their spaces. And it was really a critical experience for me to understand how they
Right.
lived. And this is a couple and their single best friend, and they pooled their resources and designed this home. And so understanding what made all of them tick in an unconventional living situation really informed the concept for this design. So they lived in different apartments in the city, and there would be these paths along the way, and you would meet for dinner and all of this. And so the way this house flows, it sort of flows from space to space, from private space to public space, and it really feels like a mini neighborhood in New York in a lot of ways.
Wow.
And all of their tastes were, varied, some modern, some traditional, bright color, muted color, but a great love of art, a great love of fine pieces. And so we curated 3 households full of their things to figure out a way to make them fit into this space. And there were originally, this is kind of a funny story, there was originally 2 primary suites on the main level, and I was like, guys, this house is just going to be too big and it's going to be too expensive. And finally I said, if you will trust me, I promise you the lower level will not feel like a lower level master, like you're tucked off out of the way. So under the left of this photograph that you're seeing in front of you, the upper room there is a primary suite with a balcony, and then just below it to the left with a little private porch, covered porch, is a lower level primary suite. And they live large. I mean, so they gave a lot of input. They were involved in the process, which is really wonderful.
Yeah.
And there were challenges. I remember they came in one day to meet with us, and they had this juicer, and it was this mustard color. It's like, we want this color in our interiors. And so we worked through pulling that together with their furnishings and different things. And so it were those kinds of playful experiences that really made this project rich with detail and conversation and thought. And I think when you walk into this home, you feel that kind of energy when you walk in. And so it was a really great experience for me as an architect to have that kind of energy level and interest in design and devotion actually to design that they had for every detail. It was really empowering as a designer. So
That's so great. So they came with props. That's always
Yeah.
really helpful. I know
Yeah.
it's, you can't read their mind. So when they come like that, determined and open to a
Yeah.
lot of things, it's really makes the process. And then and Kevin, I know that you went to the property and you were looking around at the, the site and how it was influenced, how it influenced the home's orientation and its architectural direction. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Well, it was less of a design experience and more of a evaluation of the trees and the topography. At that point in time when we did that, and by the way, that's one of my favorite times. I have different moments in time of building a house that are favorites for me. And that first time when you go out on the lot and there's no house there and it's just your pure imagination, that's definitely one of my favorite times. But that trip was more about deciding which trees. There was a number of big trees on the property that we were going to try to save. There was a number of American hollies that we tried to protect. It was more of that and just planning for the build. But it was good. Like I said, I definitely enjoy tramping around the lot. And there was a number of trees that had fallen over, and so we're having to climb over and climb under. And yeah, there's a nice aerial view of the lot of the house. But the house
how many square feet, Kevin, is it? Excuse me. Yeah. Do you know?
I think it's just under 6,000. Amy, correct me if I'm
yes.
wrong.
Yes, it's right about that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I just see you guys with your head, with the magazine. I'm always, my mind is going, and I can see you guys, your heads are going too, and for this, and we can talk a little bit. I was just saying, Kevin, you were saying one of your favorite moments among several others in the process was, seeing it without anything there and imagining. And then
right.
Amy was just saying, excuse me, before I was asking the pronunciation of whether it's Lumière or Lumière pronunciation. And Kristen had just shown another picture of the first one at nighttime. And she was talking about how that was such a special moment to see it for the first time in the evening, dusk, perhaps, and just how exciting that was to see.
That the very first image where I was telling you about the primary suites, when you drive into this neighborhood, it is this very long, kind of windy, wooded road that comes in. And just as you start to crest a little hill as you're getting close to the entrance, this rear elevation that was shown a few moments ago, it peeks up through the trees in dusk. And that's what you see as you drive in. And their home literally welcomes everyone into that neighborhood. And the first time that I saw it all lit up like this, it was it was beautiful for sure, which I appreciated very much, but it was very humbling to.
Kevin, were you with her? Were you with Amy when this?
No,
at this moment?
I don't think you were. But it was very humbling to have been a part of a group of people who were so committed to doing this well and making this a home for someone who they love to entertain. I've fortunately had dinner with them many times and been the recipient of Gail's cookies. She's a baker, and she would always ply us with cookies when she came to the office that she had just made when we were meeting. And they just are lovely people. And so to be involved in a project like this and with the players on this, it was a really incredible experience.
Amy, I think that's what made one of many things that made this project such a success was how engaged Gail and Jackie and Joey were through the whole process. And they're probably more than anybody. And they would show up at the job site. Amy spoke a little bit to the design process, and they were so heavily involved with that. But then during the build, they would bring their lawn chairs out. They would set up camp for the day. They would bring food.
What a nice
for the
environment.
It was amazing. And they got to know all of the framers and Skip, and they bonded so well. It was great. So.
Well, you had me at cookies. Okay, I'm with you. Okay, I just need to follow the scent of a cookie, and I'm there. So,
Yeah.
so I want to talk a little bit about the stone and stuff. So the stone, which we know has been used for thousands of years, and what made it feel like the right material for a contemporary home rather than a nostalgic one? I don't know if
Well,
Amy or
well, I
Kevin or
mean, when we chose that material, you know, the whole concept of their design from the time that I met them all the way through was this blending of their old life with the new life that they were creating, and that was a theme through the architecture and the interiors and the entire experience. And so the form of this house is actually pretty traditional and sort of romantic a little bit with the steep pitch roofs and those sorts of things. And so we wanted to use a material that seemed appropriate for that style. But the way that some of the details were rendered on the interior in particular is much more contemporary. And they, kind of the standard approach for this would be to use the stone and then maybe some stucco, but they wanted the texture of this brick and how that played against one another with scale and color. And so it was a combination of materials that told a story, that created a texture, that created kind of a built, constructed description of their life in a way.
Oh, I love that. It's I love that whole thing, that it was sort of an amalgamation of their, of where they were at, and the juxtaposition between the modern inside and the traditional out is always really interesting. Kevin, did you want to, you were working with this stone all the time. So did you want to add to that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just loving watching the photos flip by on the, I mean, it's a beautiful house, really. And
I love the
I think
windows too.
I think the dark windows with the stone is
Yeah.
just, that combination is just incredible. So
And
When
that it's so sweet. Both of you are feeling very nostalgic for this. It
yeah,
was so you can really feel it's palpable how much you loved working on this and stuff.
yep, yep,
So let me just ask you, Amy, quick, and then we'll get into
Sure.
some other aesthetics and structural
Sure.
info. But what the materials that surprised you by pairing it with stone? Like, had you worked with stone before? I mean, is that like a primary theme in your,
It is,
Uh-huh.
in Asheville is where Asheville, North Carolina is where my office is, and so we're tucked right in the mountains here. So stone
Mhm.
is a typical building material that we use. This particular stone, a little less so. It's a little more formal. It's not quite as rustic as a lot of the spaces. And one of the things Kevin was mentioning or maybe it was you, or both of you, the dark contrast of
Yeah.
the fascia and the roofing and the windows against the stone. But you'll notice it's not it's soft. It's
Yeah.
actually an urbane bronze color, so there's a softness to that, and I think that's what makes this house feel timeless in a way, because it's like there's a patina rather than it being so stark. And so the stone was a really important piece for this, but the rustic stone just didn't suit their style. And
Right.
so this was the perfect combination of color and shape and size in this stone from Beagle that
yeah.
it was the only one. It had to be it.
And it's so refreshing too, because
It is.
it's not a Western North Carolina stone, honestly. And
Uh,
it just,
Mhm.
it's so great. Yeah.
Wow. And Kevin, so that you used there was a whole thing about the choosing the full thickness stone and the decision, how did that affect the decision structurally and aesthetically? Um,
A lot of those decisions early on came from Amy and Miles that worked with her on this. The um, the full thickness stone. I mean, there's pros and cons in my head for both of them, and reasons to use them in different places. I would say for me, the biggest benefit of the full thickness is, well, in that picture, you can see it like around the windows, how, that's where you register that it's, 6-inch veneer stone as opposed to a cut stone. And that's where it shows up. And, but, there's other places, the chimney, we use thin stone, and that just helped on the foundation for the chimney. So yeah, pros and cons both ways, but they each have their place.
And I think that one of the things that is really great about this material is that Beagle makes both of those options available to us so that we can get the look that we want, be sensitive to the cost of the house, and also make sure that the details, like Kevin mentioned, the mass of this stone with the punched openings, you would have lost that feeling if you didn't have the full depth veneer. It just would not have had the same feel at all.
Right. And then the collaboration. So you had the architect, the builder, the mason, and what supplier was maybe the most critical, or everybody everybody's considered critical, I suppose, when you're embarking on something of this nature. But what was that collaboration like? Because you've got a lot of, which I'm sure you guys are used to, but you've got a lot of people, a lot of hands, or people in the kitchen, I should say, chefs in the kitchen.
So we had a really good local distributor of Beagle Stone. The salesman's name his name is Mitch Storm. We still work with him to this day. He was very important. He was our go-between, basically between us and Beagle. The Beagle did outstanding job on the shop drawings. We had a lot of shop drawings for all the limestone pieces. And I don't remember the gentleman's name at the time, but those drawings were really good. Amy reviewed all those drawings. There was a lot of them, all the sill pieces, all the
I can imagine.
There were a
like
lot.
the front surround, all that stuff needed drawings. But I don't think our mason was involved as much at that point. Certainly later, but yeah.
How long did it take you guys for this to complete?
Too long.
Too long. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I have that on my watch. It doesn't say, but what are we looking at?
I honestly, it's Amy, the other Amy asked that yesterday when it finished, and I looked that up after we got done, and it was 6 years ago, and I forgot to look up when we started it. Amy, do you remember?
Our drawings were dated December of 2017, and they moved in and were able to shelter in this beautiful home during COVID. So they were very relieved. So somewhere in that 2-year time range.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which for a home of this caliber, frankly, I mean, everybody wants to move as quickly as they can, but for a home of this caliber and with this level of detail, I mean, it takes what it takes to do it right. And fortunately, they were as anxious as they were to be in there. They were also very supportive of the process. So
that's a huge, yeah. That's a huge plus.
Yeah, it was nice. They were great clients. I was looking back this morning preparing for this. I was looking back at old photos and we had a lot of rain during the construction.
We did.
And I found one where we had dug the basement and the entire thing looked like a swimming pool. It was like a foot of water. It was a drone photo I had. And you're looking down you're looking down, it looked like a swimming pool. It looked like a muddy swimming pool. And the same thing happened during framing. We just got so much rain, which definitely didn't help things.
I hadn't really, I mean, obviously that's a huge consideration. I hadn't even thought of that, and especially the weather that we're having and stuff. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys, just an aside though, do you guys typically keep like a diary of a project and sort of, what you're doing, but what you're feeling about it and stuff as time goes on?
I'll jump in first, Amy.
Yeah.
From a technical standpoint, we keep a daily log, but it's not an emotional type thing. It's, who worked that day and did it rain or snow or was it sunny? But it's not anything like there's no feelings involved with that.
Okay. Amy, did you have any,
I mean, I didn't journal or anything about this project, but for me, like Kevin has the daily logs. For me, we keep every iteration of the drawing files that we do over the course of time, and sometimes we'll flip back through those and say, oh yeah, this was. So, when I'm designing a new project, sometimes if I'm struggling with something, I'll grasp in the back of my mind, seems like I was struggling with something like this, or I was looking for something like this on that project, and then I can go back to it. And so I think these things kind of stay in your stream of consciousness and come out in future opportunities. But I don't particularly journal about that, no.
I love that. So Amy, did you intentionally create moments with the interiors that disappeared and let the architecture speak, or?
Yeah, well, I'm trained as an architect first and foremost, so the architecture is the thing that's got to be right for me.
Yeah.
But when I started my practice, I was perhaps maybe the only architect in Asheville at the time who also did interiors. And I didn't do it other than I also thought about the garden and all of that. And that's just because my concept of home includes all of those things. I love being in the garden and I love to cook. And so to me, that's just when you're designing homes, all of those things have to play together. And that's just the way that my team, that's the way we practice. But for me, the architecture is always the thing that kind of trumps everything else because I was trained to see things that way, I suppose. That's a nice shot there.
That is
I love that.
shot.
Kevin, what is your, you don't do any of the interior or anything design or anything? No.
That's Amy's bailiwick. I stay out.
It's so beautiful, Amy.
Yeah.
I love the holistic approach, which really is what a home is all about. It doesn't stop at the front door, or the back door. You've got all that outdoor space and, like you said, garden, and so there's a lot of places to really pay attention to.
Amy, this photograph that's up on the screen now is the lower level primary suite, the one that I said, I promise if you trust me, it will not feel like it's on the lower level. And this big vaulted space is how that turned out. And to the left, it opens out onto its own private covered patio. So
it's so beautiful. And I love your choice of lighting and stuff. It's so important when it comes to vaulted ceilings and and to, take up that space in a, in a way that's you can relate to rather than, than overwhelming. It's really lovely. So about you guys though, where did you guys challenge one another the most? Was there, how much interaction and stuff did you have?
A lot of
Yeah.
interaction. So I'll say that, but I'll let Kevin answer the
Uh,
question.
well, so first of all, both Amy and I are perfectionists, and
It's a curse
usually,
it can be a
Yeah.
curse.
usually that's good.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes we would butt heads, but overall it was a good thing. One of the very best things, in my opinion, that Amy does that not all the architects do is she models everything in, I don't know, I'm not sure what the right word is, but it's 3D model, virtual reality modeling. And the project manager and I, his name was Kurt, we would both put the apps on our phone, and we'd be walking around the job and just zooming in and out, looking at, like this space right here. That was that uh, picture was exactly the kind of thing we'd be studying, like trying to figure out where the curve landed. Just some of it's just really hard to make construction drawings, and we would get as much mileage out of the renderings as we did some of the drawings. But
This
as
was
far as
actually
other,
our first one that we did with the 3D
oh,
modeling. So it's come a long way.
it was good. It was good.
Wow. And was it advantageous that Kevin, was it advantageous that Amy is an architect as well?
As well as interior design, you mean?
Yes, yes.
Oh, without a doubt. It's funny. I have quick segue. I have a son in Dallas that's launching into building a new home, designing it, and he's called me many times over the last couple months trying to figure out architects and builders. And I've told him many times, if you can find an architect that, like Amy, that also does the interior design, you're way
You're
ahead.
golden. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It just makes it so much not only easier, but I mean, there's no competing. There's,
Right.
they're one and the same. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Ah,
I think doing both for me helps me think about all of the details and how the builder and or the craftsperson who's doing that is how they're going to do their job. I mean, one of the best trainings that I've ever gotten over the years, and Kevin will appreciate this. I have a tile guy who's now retired that I worked with for years, was just the best in the world. And he was like, I want you to come and do the training with my tile setters and go to class, and we're going to put together a shower and do all that. So I went down to that class, which was mostly builders and tile setters. And then I also went to the architect's version of that same company who did the underlayment and whatnot. And what I found over the years was the more questions that I could ask of the people who were actually installing all of the pieces, the better my design became, because I understood what they were up against. And that, I think, has made me a better architect and designer over the years. Because, as I said, the builder and all of the craftspeople who are on the project, they're the ones who make my drawings come to life.
right. Right. Um, was there an idea at the beginning where you initially resisted something or anything, or a choice or anything?
I
It
think
probably became the project's strongest feature, which sometimes happens.
As I recall, one of the more challenging aspects of this were the returns on the windows there with no casings, because they had to be perfect. And we went through some iterations about how to do that and the best way to make that work and what have you. And then there were, so in the kitchen, the windows come right down to the countertop. And so working through that detail. So those sound like small things, but the way that they render and the way that they're constructed make a huge difference. Those are the two things that stand out to me at this moment. Kevin, you may have other things that you remember.
Well, I was racking my brain, honestly, trying to think of some of the different challenges and pushback and whatnot. I couldn't think of much. I remember talking with you about how the stone would tuck up behind the crown molding on the soffit.
Yeah.
And we had that discussion, and
Yeah.
I think it turned out really well. I don't know that that's one of the, Amy, I'm not sure how you call it. I'm not sure it was one of the best features, but it's very nice. It's subtle, but the stone corbels, integrating those was fundamental, I think, to the beauty of the house. I'm talking mainly right now on the outside.
The vents, the gable vents, that was a tough one to work through, and you guys did that masterfully.
Yeah, the narrow, there's two of them there. I think there's one on the back of the house too.
I think I was a little difficult about that. Kurt, at one point, Kurt was like, well, we can't get this in that size. And I was like, well, we can make it. So I guess I could be a little difficult from time to time, but it makes the detail, it's an important detail.
I actually, so the project manager that worked on this house, he, for family reasons, he moved up to Washington, D.C. about 2 years ago. But I emailed him last night and I asked him this question basically. And for him, he said the hardest thing was convincing the masons to, like those stone corbels, you can barely see one right there. And they came, Beagle cut those. They were massive. They came on a couple of pallets. We had 20 of them or something. And some of them, because of site conditions, we had to modify. And convincing the masons to cut this beautiful limestone piece to fit was that's what he told me that last night. He's like, that was his biggest challenge, was getting Pedro and the guys to actually cut those with a big saw. So
Kurt did an incredible job managing all of the workers on this. He was fantastic to work with.
He was.
Kudos to him. That definitely makes a difference. And what do you guys, and then we're gonna start to, but what do you guys, do people underestimate about building with stone today? Like what are some broader that you've worked with, with other clients and stuff? What do you feel about stone in general being, and building with it today? And now we've got so many, between storms and other kinds of things. As a layperson, I would think stone would be just, one of the ideal materials to make, for a lot of different weather variables, etc. So do people, what have you encountered with people who maybe underestimate building with stone today?
I think, I don't know, Amy, you can jump in too, but I think most of the people underestimate how good of a design decision it is. They don't appreciate it. Almost all of our homes have some amount of stone or brick. This one's, you know, this is 100%. Well, 95%. There's a gable in the back that has siding, but it's 95% stone and brick. And I don't know. I don't know if people underestimate it or just maybe appreciate it when it's done. I guess maybe
Right.
that's what I'm trying to say.
I
Okay.
think from a design perspective, it's especially in the mountains, I think it's a really important design element. But I think that clients don't appreciate the cost of that material as compared to some other materials, and therefore sometimes the stone isn't able to be used in a way that would make the most design impact. And so that was not the case with these folks. So we were very fortunate there. But Kevin touched on this a little earlier when we were talking about the difference between full depth versus thin stone veneer. And the full depth veneer does have structural implications depending upon where you use it and that sort of thing, which also affects the design and affects the cost. But I think it's masterful to be able to use this full depth veneer on the house proper to get the punched openings like we talked about in the detail there with the cut stone water table, and then use the thin stone veneer on the chimney at the top, which frankly was not only a structural issue, a structural concern, but it's a safety issue. I mean, the guys who are up there in the scaffolding on that roof, lifting all that stone up there, I mean, it's, you know, and people look at it on a house and they see it and they think it's beautiful, but it's a lot to manage for the construction team and a lot to consider for the design team to get just the right material, the right thickness, where it's located, all those sorts of things. So, but it's an incredible material, and I mean, I love this house. I really love this house.
I can tell. I mean, you guys genuinely, I emote a feeling about it. So, sort of wrapping up in a way. So, if visitors remember only one thing, you guys, about this home 20 years from now, what do you hope it is?
For me, the home right now and in 20 years, I think it's going to feel timeless. I think it's not gimmicky, it's not trendy. It's just a great design. And the stone, like I recently, I was lucky enough, I went for a very short vacation at the Cloisters on Sea Island. And the same thing struck me there, like that property was built like 100 years ago, and it just feels so great. And you just walking around and it's solid, and it's, you know, it's held up well. I was running around taking pictures of things. Same thing with this house. It's just, I think it's going to be there for a long time, and it's going to get better and better, I think. So.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Kevin, that it says just enough, but not too much, you know. And people are, even if you're not trained architecturally, the comments that we've gotten, we've had people from all over the world reach out to us
You had
about asking
mentioned,
questions. Asking questions about this house. And I think it strikes the right note between being substantial, but also being quiet about it. And it feels very welcoming, and it feels like a place that you just want to be. And, you know, sometimes it just happens that way.
Oh, it was like the
This time it
perfect,
did.
yeah. And then so in sort of closing, each of you, which one design move you'd repeat forever? Amy?
Um, Well, I think from a design perspective, this house and all of the houses that we design, regardless of style, regardless of the client, it's about getting to know the client and understanding the moments that they want to have in their home and letting those life moments. I mean, any architect who is trained should be able to put together a functional floor plan. That's not what we're doing here. We're designing experiences of home. And so if you can design a home about the moments that you want to spend there, then I think that that's what makes the flow of the floor plan work. I think that's what informs the interiors. I think that's what informs the architecture. And it sounds very non-technical, but it just, in my experience, that works.
Mm-hmm.
That works.
Kevin, do you want to
Yeah.
elaborate at all or add to that?
Not add to it, but my answer would be slightly different, and it's more the technical side and less the design. And we especially on this home, but we spent so much time with the waterproofing details.
Yeah.
And that, you know, if there's something I would repeat again and again, that's it, you know. And it's not fun. It doesn't show, if you do your job right, it doesn't really wow anybody, but if you do your job wrong, everybody knows about it. So yeah.
But that's exactly why this home that you built, Kevin, is going to be here for 100 years.
Yeah.
It's that attention to detail in every
we paid a
aspect.
lot of attention to it. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, technical and aesthetic, those are the things that make a home timeless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, is there anything you guys want to add that we haven't touched on that you feel like you want to have this audience know or understand or learn before I guess we're going to start to take some questions?
I guess for me, the thing that I would say is if you are embarking on designing a home for yourself or building a home for yourself as a homeowner, and or if you are a professional who is looking to do what we do, I think the team, I mean, Kevin and I have share a perspective about wanting things to be well done and well crafted and edging on perfect, which is not always
I don't know if you can edge on perfect. You gotta be perfect, but I hear you.
But the things that we both bring to the table when we don't see things from we know where we want to get, but we may come from opposite ways. And if you have a team that you trust to give you that end result, then I think that's what makes what we do. That's just kind of the icing on the cake. Is you've got a good design, you've got a good builder, but the way that the team puts all of that together is really critical in creating homes that are going to last for a really long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, this has been incredibly informative for me, and hopefully I would understand the audience as well. And the thing that gives me a lot of pleasure is not only seeing this and experiencing it, but is really to hear from you guys and the passion that you bring to this, and I'm certain all of your projects. And that's so important. We live in a fast world and a lot of stuff and is happening quickly, but I love the deliberate and wonderful way that you guys, communicate. And obviously we get to see this incredible build that is truly it says it all. It about how you guys work together. So I thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, and I'm very appreciative. Kristen,
Thank you.
Thank you guys. This has been fantastic.
Thank you for the opportunity to share this.
Likewise.
I'm going to check our Q&A section here. Ooh, we have quite a few questions in here already. So,
Oh, good.
Let's see. So the first one that's showing up for me is what was done to waterproof the home so carefully?
So first of all, we used zip sheathing on the home. No, we didn't use Tyvek. Hopefully that, or maybe I shouldn't assume that's common knowledge, I guess. But so we started there. Zip tape that was applied properly. We put a rain screen behind all of the stone or the brick. So if water does get through the stone, and it almost always does, or the brick, it has a way, it has a path to get out. Down at the bottom, like down near the foundation level, that's where the through wall flashing was that brought the water out. The channels that we created, it was kind of funny. I was remembering this. I think I saw it in a picture this morning, but we cut little pieces. It was very ecological thing we did. We took the shipping boxes from Beagle Stone, and they're made out of corrugated plastic, and we cut pieces of those to stick through the wall to let the water drain out. So they're durable, they're never going to rot, and no bugs can get in. And we still do that. We're still using that same idea today. So,
Wow.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
yeah.
Little upcycling going on.
Yeah.
Next question is, how did you and your clients determine which areas would feature stone and which areas would feature brick? Was there a particular design inspiration or guiding principle?
I think that we used stone in the areas where we wanted the most emphasis on the exterior material, from the street to be able to, have that signature piece. I mean, the double gable on the right that's kind of behind your head, Kristen, and then the gable that frames their breakfast room. All of that area was really important to be stone on the full facade. And then in some other areas that were more supporting players, we wanted to use the brick. The scale was a little different, and it really made the core of the house stand out in that way. And then you add the limestone water table, which is also used in areas of the brick, and it really starts to create some scale implications on the house, as well as some moments where, it just draws your focus to certain areas.
Okay. We got a couple more questions. Is there a natural patina over time that you anticipate the stone or the home will take, and was a reason, will take over time, and was a reason for the particular selection?
I think we just wanted to have a softness to this palette, like I mentioned, with the windows not being stark black, but being more of a bronze color. That just gives a softness over time that I think just happens naturally. And so this stone, with the variation in the colors, already sort of had that built into the mix, and it's only going to get better over time.
Mm-hmm.
Another question. The brick looks like it has a peach or pink undertone, but in other pictures it looks like it blends perfectly with the stone. Does it blend perfectly? And if so, did the mortar you used help that blend?
Yes. The mortar, we used white sand in the mortar, and that helped tone this. These brick are red brick with a face on it, and so of course in some light of the day some of that's going to bleed through, and so we tried to control that a little bit with the mortar and have some continuity between the mortar of the stone and the mortar of the brick. But if you paint a room the same color on every wall is going to look different because the light hits it differently. That's just the nature of And frankly, I think that's a wonderful thing because that's how you can tell it's authentic.
Mhm.
This one just came through, less of a question, but just wanted to say thank you so much for hosting the webinar today. This Asheville home was the determining factor for us selecting Beacol for our new build in
Oh.
Blowing Rock, North Carolina. And Kevin,
wow.
it just so happens we are working with Mitch. The architectural
Oh.
detail is
Oh.
absolutely gorgeous, and it was very helpful to hear you speak more openly regarding the pros and cons of full bed versus thin veneer. Your time has been valuable and very appreciated.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah, that's great.
There was a question about, was the 6-inch or full depth stone used only right around the windows with the thin veneer elsewhere, or was the full depth stone on the whole side of the house?
I think the only place you used thin was on the chimney, right?
That's exactly what I remember as well. Yeah, I believe that's the case. It was down at the foundation level and up the gables was the two primary spots.
We couldn't get the taper with a thin stone. It had to be full depth veneer to get the slight tapers.
There's one more question here. This person is considering Fond du Lac Castle Rock for a project. Did you consider that, or were you all for the Fond du Lac Taylor blend all along?
We were for this stone here, but I actually have looked at the Castle Rock for a different project, and it's a beautiful stone as well. It's just a little deeper in tone.
I would say the only last question that I wanted to toss out there that Amy had actually come up with was, is there any detail for either of you as a builder or an architect and designer that only another builder or another architect or designer would notice?
Well, for me, one of my favorite details, you can actually, you can't see it in that picture, but I love the round windows with, like, our masons cut the stone. They cut the full thickness stone in a perfect circle around those round windows. It just, I think Chris and I were talking about that yesterday. It came out great. And I had found a picture this morning of the guys doing that, and they were covered in dust, and but it looks great. So
I'll see if I can pull up one of those pictures quick.
yeah, it's worth sharing.
And then,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That is wild. Yeah.
there's a beautiful round window in the powder bath that has the stone detailing that Kevin was talking about on the outside, but your folks did a great job on the interior, Kevin, with the trimless returns on that, getting it perfect, and that was a challenge as well, because I mean there's just no forgiveness on that one. It had to be dead on, and it was. So kudos to you.
No, thank you.
Sounds like kudos to all of you. My gosh.
Yes, thank you guys both. We're definitely past time. This went a couple minutes long, so I appreciate
Thanks for
you
the
guys.
opportunity.
Thank you for being
guys.
a part of it.
What a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Kristen, thank you.
This has been really, really wonderful. Thank you guys. For those of you in attendance, if you have other questions and you want to shoot us an email, we'll get them over to Amy and Kevin. You can just email us at marketing@beacolstone.com, and we'll do our best to get your questions answered. Thank you guys again. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we will hopefully see you at our next webinar in a month.